Please note that your call may be recorded for monitoring and training purposes.
Yes, hello. Hello? Can you hear me? Hello? Hello? I can't hear you. Can you hear me? No, I'll have to try back. I can't hear you.
Thank you for calling Bradford District Care NHS Foundation Trust. Our call is important to us and will be answered by our next available administrator. Please note that your call may be recorded for monitoring and training purposes.
Yes, good afternoon. I'm calling, I'm trying to get in touch with Chris Browall. I've just missed his call. He's told me to ring back via the single point of access.
Okay, can I check the number that you're calling from first?
No.
Okay. The call regarding yourself?
It's regarding my brother, Mr. Talib saying date of birth 15/9/1960.
Can I check your name?
Sajid Hussain.
Sorry, Sajid, can you just read out the date of birth?
15/9/1960.
Chris Browall. I'm just going to transfer you to Chris now.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Shazad.
Yeah, hi Chris, how are we doing?
I'm okay, how are you?
Yeah, I'm okay as well. I just obviously received this letter, and I didn't know who to contact, and so that's why I called up. So, but before we begin, did you get my email?
I did, yeah.
Okay, all right. Because obviously, if you gave me a time, I would have known what time you're calling. Okay, and could you tell me? I mean, the last time we arranged for an appointment was on the 7th of June.
Okay. I did actually call you back. I think I missed your phone call, and then I called you back and you were available.
Well, I think you called me back telling me that you're going on holiday.
I'm just looking back at the notes now. Was it June?
Yeah, I mean, if you remember, you said that the last appointment that you had, I said I didn't want to wait 2-3 weeks, and you said, well, the next appointment I've got is in the 7th of June, but after that I'll be going away. And then obviously, so we booked an appointment for the 7th of June, and then I think you sent me a message saying, I'm sorry I couldn't make it today, and I'll get in touch with you when I get back from holiday.
Right. I think I did try to call you though. I did try, and then I did I leave a text message or a voicemail?
Well, you tell me, because obviously, we had an appointment on the 7th that was cancelled by you because of, I don't know, something else. That's the last I heard of you, that you were gonna contact me when you come back from holiday.
Yeah. Yeah. I said. I think there was no answer. I left the voicemail requesting call back and explained that I was going on annual leave after the 7th of June and I'd be returning the 15th of June.
Yeah. So when did you leave that message?
On the 7th of June.
Yes, we had an appointment on the 7th of June. You couldn't make it. You were going on holiday, and you said you get in touch with me when you get back.
I think I said that I'd call you on the 7th of June, and I did call you, and there was no answer, so I left a voicemail.
Yes, but then I've not heard from you.
No, I didn't know there was anything in particular that we needed to talk about.
Well, that's not correct, is it? Because obviously I told you before when we spoke prior to the arranged appointment for the 7th, there were several pressing matters that needed to be dealt with, and you even concurred with me. You said, look, I believe Talib should have access to his money. I don't know what the delay is. I asked you certain information to look into and stuff, and that's why I said you told me you were hoping to get an appointment arranged for after you returned, after the 15th, and I said that's not good enough. So you said, all right, I can do the 7th. And then obviously we missed the 7th. And obviously there were pressing matters to be dealt with. And prior to that, you always told me, oh, look, I'm looking to call you up just to monitor the situation every 2 weeks. So, like it was incumbent upon yourself, knowing the fact that there's a vulnerable person in my care that's not receiving any money, to remain on top of the situation. So, I just wanted to ask, how come you haven't got in touch with us?
Like I said, I thought if there was any concerns that you'd be able to contact me. So.
Well, I mean, this is not the first appointment that's been missed, is it? I mean, there's one in April that we had arrange a telephone appointment and it was just missed. And you want me to ring you up when you told me that you're going on holiday, and you get back to us. Look, I mean, I don't want to dwell on this too much, but it's just that I've not heard from you. I said, all right, well, fair enough. I mean, if you're not going to deal with us, you're not going to deal with us. And then obviously I've received this letter. Did you send this letter?
I was aware that the letter's been sent. Yes. Yeah, I didn't write the letter myself, no.
Who wrote the letter?
I don't know, to be honest. I think it was kind of. I was asked I arranged for it to be translated.
Why?
But other than that, what's that? Sorry.
Why did you arrange to have it translated?
Because that's what was decided, that it needed to be a letter needed to be sent. And for it to be in Urdu, so Talib would be able to understand it.
But where is it recorded that Talib can read Urdu?
That was just what I was told.
From who? From who?
I think, well, whether I don't know whether it was Bali or Fatina or it was just that. I thought it was understood that Talib would be able to understand Urdu.
No, but where is it understood that Talib can speak Russian?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, so if it's not understood that he can speak Russian, where have you got the fact that he can read and write in Urdu?
Like I said, I thought that was kind of when there's been interpreters before. I believe it's my understanding that there've been Urdu Punjabi interpreters.
But can you understand? Speaking a language is one thing. Reading and writing is completely different.
Yeah.
Do you understand? So obviously, in order to communicate with him, people are he obviously he's not mute. He can speak a language, can't he? He's got his own language that he speaks. Just because you speak a language does not mean the fact that you can read and write.
Yeah.
So why go through
Not read.
Pardon?
Can Talib not read?
What don't you know? Don't you know this?
No, I thought there's my understanding that he'd be able to read Urdu, but if I'm wrong on that, I apologise.
No, it's not about apologising. It's not about you. My brother Talib has been a service user. He was sectioned under the Mental Health Act since 2004. All right. Have you ever written to him in Urdu? And for somebody to just make a off the hand decision, because that translation would have cost you, no doubt. It's not been done for free, has it? Bali is not translated. It has it the letter.
No.
So it's cost you, hasn't it?
Yes, there's a cost to that.
Yeah. So there's a translation cost that was not necessary, was it?
I don't know. If you're saying it wasn't necessary and the Talib can't read it, then that's okay.
Well, no, it's not. You know what? Why have you addressed it? And that's the first point. The second point, why have you addressed it to Talib for? Because previous letters you said, you've addressed them to me, so why have you addressed them to Talib for?
I don't know. I was asked for it to be addressed to Talib.
Who asked you?
So I think it was someone from the legal department, something like that.
Yeah, but who? You must have spoke to somebody.
So I was just told that we need to write a letter to
But
Talib, that was all.
But who told you this? You see, you're not giving me a name, are you?
Well, I don't see why it would help.
I tell you why it would help. You can't be anonymous. You can't, there's somebody who's made the decision out there. I want to know are you the decision maker? No, you're right. That's right. So you're not the decision maker. You're just a dog's body. You're just, pardon the phrase, but you're just told to do something and you're doing it because that's your job. That's correct, isn't it?
Yeah.
All right. So you're not the decision maker. So somebody's made a decision saying that this needs to also be in Urdu. Who's that decision maker?
To be honest, I don't really know who it is, and I don't understand why that's relevant. And I don't know if.
Let's look at this. Somebody's making a decision. You're just a dog's body, all right? You're just executing those decisions. Somebody is making decisions that are adversely affecting me and my brother's life, all right? Somebody's making decisions that's ended up ending my mother's life. Somebody's writing out to me, all right? So can you understand that the decisions that are made by Talib are made by me? Because obviously I have authority to do so, his authority. He's given me consent, he has capacity, and he said, look, you make these decisions. You can understand that makes sense, doesn't it? Like, for example, Chris, if you go to court and you have rather than representing yourself, you have somebody that represents you, like a solicitor. The solicitor is acting on your behalf under your instructions. You're making the decisions, but you're giving authority to the solicitor to do act on your behalf. So how can you do that and Talib not do that? It is very, very clear from the very long-standing, protracted history with the council that Talib does not make his own decisions. All right, he asks me to make those decisions because he does not read English, he does not read Urdu, he does not understand the system. He's from a Pakistani culture. Obviously he has mental health problems. He has got his own personal issues to deal with. It'll be just too much for him to make decisions, and then because those decisions have consequences. And those consequences then he has to live with. So he's just said, look, I don't want to make any decisions. You are my brother. I trust you implicitly. You make decisions on my behalf. Okay? And I've made those decisions on his behalf. So I'm the decision maker. So if I make a wrong decision, I have to suffer the consequences of those decisions. Now, when I'm speaking to you, you're telling me you're not the decision maker. So, I can't start going, you. Because you're saying, look, hey, man, Mr. Hussain, all I'm doing is I'm just told to do something. I just did that thing. It's not me that's made the decision. So I'm just reasonably asking, well, who is it that's making the decisions on your part? From your organization, who is the decision maker? Because obviously, where we are at now is that I need to speak to the decision maker, all right? And obviously, where you want to be, where we are at right now is that there's this sense of vagary and abstraction that I'm just the dog's body. Don't shoot the messenger, but we're not going to tell you who the decision maker is because we don't want to talk. We don't want you to talk to the decision maker. Can you understand that? That's not how things operate, is there? Or the reason I'm asking is that the decision maker has accountability. You're accountable. So I'm accountable for my actions, aren't I? I'm accountable for my decisions. Because if I make a wrong action, if I take a gun and shoot somebody, I'm accountable for that. There's consequences to me. Because I made the decision to buy a gun, I made a decision to shoot somebody. As an analogy, there's consequences. Now, conversely, there are decisions being made. I want to know who the decision maker is so I can hold them accountable for those decisions. Somebody's made a decision that said, all right, we're going to draft this letter, all right, to Talib. And we're going to also get it translated to Talib so Talib can understand. And we don't want Shahzad's involvement. So who is that decision maker?
I don't think there's. I can understand if Sally can't understand the letter and things, but I don't think there's been any harm done in actually writing the letter.
No, that is that. Okay, Mr. All right, Mr. Browall. Assuming that harm has been done, assuming you're saying there isn't, I have not indicated either way. Assuming that harm has been done, would it be reasonable to say that then there has to be accountability for the harm that's taken place?
Yes, if there is some harm being done, but
it's just
a letter.
I know, understand. Yeah. I said, look, assume things. All right, let's assume that harm has been done. All I'm trying to find out is that who sent this letter. Look, it's not even when a letter comes, it comes from a person, doesn't it? All right. Now this letter, you have it in front of you. It's addressed to my brother Talib. Why is it being addressed to my brother Talib when you know the fact that he does not correspond? I deal with his correspondence, right? So why is it not being addressed to me and why is it being addressed to Talib? Somebody's made a decision saying, look, we want to deal with Talib and we don't want to deal with you. So you want to deal with somebody who is vulnerable, who cannot defend himself, who cannot articulate himself, who cannot write a letter, who cannot speak English, who has his own mental health problems, who has got his own issues. So you want to deal with him. So somebody's made a decision not to write to me, all right? Because what that decision maker could have done, they could have said, look, Mr. Browall, you have been speaking to Mr. Hussain regarding Talib. We sent you down to see him. You saw Talib and Shahzad. You know that Shahzad speaks to him. Can you give him a quick call? So we could have had this discussion. But no, the decision maker said, no, you were supposed to speak to Mr. Hussain on the 7th. You have not done so. We don't want you to contact Mr. Hussain on the telephone. We don't want you to reply to any of his emails. We don't want you to have any communication with Shahzad, his brother, his representative, his carer. We don't want you to talk to him. What we want to do is we wrote this letter and we want you to translate it into Urdu and send it to Talib. That's what's happened, hasn't it?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So now I need to know who that person is because harm has happened. And how can you say harm has not happened? Because there are acts of omission that are taking place. There's acts of commission and there are acts of omission. Now, acts of commission would mean you did something and therefore harm was created. Acts of omission are when you didn't do something and you were supposed to do something and harm has been created. Now, how can you, Mr. Browall, say to me with good conscience that harm has not taken place through omission? Because my brother's not got access to any money, he's not got access to a GP, he's got not access to any facilities. So how can you say nothing's taken place? Because in this letter, you're asking these questions. We want to give you money. We want you to register with the GP. We're worried about your medication.
Yeah.
So can you explain to me that, are you in a position to speak to me regarding being the decision maker or tell me the decision maker? Because look, Mr. Browall, with good conscience, you're not the right person, are you, to deal with the situation?
No.
Yeah.
No, I don't.
Yeah, and can you see somebody's made a decision saying that there was Baljit Nota who was previously involved with Talib's care. Yes, Baljit Nota speaks Punjabi. Baljit Nota can speak to Talib in her own language. All right. In the absence of being able to speak to Talib in his own language, somebody else, such as yourself, have now been allocated to him. You've come down to see him, and you've not brought an interpreter with you, did you? The last time you came to see him on the 25th of May.
No.
All right. So why has somebody made the decision to take somebody who's appropriate with the language skills, who knows Talib for several years? All right, considering that Talib was sectioned and involved in 2018, they've taken that person off and put you on. How are you the appropriate person to be dealing with Talib when you don't have the language skills? And you've come down to speak to Talib and don't have an interpreter with you. So who's made that decision to withdraw Bali?
I think Bali works in a different department now, so that she's not in the same job. So
Is she not a care coordinator anymore?
she works in a different department. So
Which department?
well, I don't. Well, she doesn't work at City CMHT anymore.
Okay, all right. But can you understand that when I spoke to Bali, I said, because my brother's been discharged, he needs a social worker in the community. He is no longer, like, for example, this letter's now come from the city mental health team, but it's come from the Bradford Council, but it's also from Horton Park. It's very, very confusing, because what should happen, and correct me if I'm wrong here, when a person has an illness, or like, for example, a mental health problem, he goes to see his GP. The GP says that, look, I'm not specialist in mental health and psychosis. All I can do is do physical treatment. So I'm going to transfer you and refer you to a specialist, like a psychiatrist. And therefore, for example, my brother would have gone to a GP, they would have made a referral to a psychiatrist. Therefore, it would have been under some psychiatrist like Rashmi Dixon. Rashmi Dixon, as you can appreciate, is a very busy woman, or like all psychiatrists. They know the fact that I can look at the psychosis, but that the person needs other issues to be dealt with. So they have a team, like a city mental health team, that assist and cooperate and facilitate the wishes of the psychiatrist, and hence where your role comes in, like a care coordinator and social workers that liaise on behalf of the client, namely my brother, under the umbrella term of under the umbrella of the psychiatrist Rashmi Dixon. Now, once that issue has been resolved with, and the person and the psychiatrist feel that this person's issue now has been resolved, or they're in a situation where you can't help them any further, the person gets discharged, and the discharge letter goes back to the GP, and the care goes back to the GP, and if there's any further input, the social workers in the community pick that up and deal with that. Now, is that correct? I mean, am I missing something here? Is my interpretation wrong?
No, that sounds reasonable.
Okay, so why in my brother's case has that not happened? Because it seems that, first of all, the circumstances in which my brother ended up in your clutches in the city mental health team were as a result of me raising complaints of him being neglected in the community in 2018. He was at a stage where he was being really neglected, and that was as a result of my brother Adalat not providing any financial funds to us, and being his appointee, and also all sorts of other things, following a court hearing in January 2018. So by July 2018, he had deteriorated. By the 6th of August, he had been detained by the city city mental health team or the psychiatrist, because it was felt that he was at a risk to himself. So that was another route where I had lodged a complaint, all right, and that had resulted in him getting into the city mental health team. Now that he's been discharged many years later, why am I having a conversation with the city mental health team still? Can you explain to me how that works?
So I think you his brother still has a diagnosis of paranoid schizophrenia. He was discharged from the care of Dr. Dixon in 2021. I think that was at the time when you both moved to Oldham. So as far as I'm aware, he always still continued to have a care coordinator. It's just that I was allocated as his present care coordinator.
Okay. So
he
with
was just discharged from Dr. Dixon's care, not necessarily that of CMHT.
but that doesn't make any sense to me, because the city mental health team, the team is there to support the psychiatrist. That's how the team's existence comes into place. The psychiatrist
It's not always the case. There is quite most people now have care coordinators and they don't have an allocated psychiatrist. It's just if the person needs a medical review or an appointment, the care coordinator will ask one of the psychiatrists to offer an outpatient appointment. It's not the same that everyone is allocated a psychiatrist now.
Okay, all right, fair enough. So you changed the remit, all right. But can you tell me, is that not the job of what's the difference between the social worker and the care coordinator?
Care coordinator is something I think specific to mental health teams.
No, because I just explained to you that under normal circumstances, when somebody is admitted into the psychiatry ward, or a referral has been made, or self-referred, then they're discharged. Once they come back out of the care of the psychiatrist, then once they go back to the GP, it's taken up by the social worker in the community. All right, and so the role of effectively coordinating the care is done by the social worker in the community. It has no. Can you understand? There is no further role for the psychiatrist. So if there's no further role for the psychiatrist, how can there be a further role for the city mental health team? He's not, and the fact that my brother he does not have paranoid schizophrenia. He has schizophrenia. There's no paranoia about it. All right, that's an element that you've added in. So he's had schizophrenia. He's had schizophrenia since the 80s. All right, since the 1980s. He's not had a care coordinator since the 1980s, and he's not been always under the care of the city mental health team. Because I would like to remind you, Mr. Browall, one of the things I did ask you previously to look into is his familiarize yourself with his healthcare record. Now, do you know that Dr. Dixon discharged him in June 2021, which you confirmed in your letter? But this is not the first time that she's discharged him. She also discharged him in July 2017. So in July 2017, when Dr. Dixon discharged my brother Talib, all right, at a time when I had returned from incarceration, it was quickly felt that now he no longer needs to be under the care of the city mental health team or the psychiatrist. He was discharged, all right. He still had paranoid schizophrenia then, all right, and there was no involvement of the city mental health team. So with all due respect, I think what you're saying to me is basically a fraud. All right, he cannot be under the city mental health team whilst being discharged from the psychiatrist. And you can tell me, you can give me assurances that, oh no, it does happen. That it's not unfamiliar. Well, that's a fraud, or a falsehood that exposes my brother to risk. A lot of things that are happening now are fraud. So that's just clearly a fraud. What should happen is what I told Dr. Dixon in his discharge meeting in January 2019, when he was discharged into my care. Originally in 2019 January, I said he needs to be discharged from the city mental health team so he can have a allocated social worker. All right. Then I'm no longer dealing with the NHS, because as it presently stands, you got feet in both places, haven't you? Are you the NHS or are you the council?
By the council, and I work in an NHS.
That's right. So, but what involvement does Talib need in the NHS now?
So I can understand that that might be a contested opinion, that you don't think that you need support by the CMHT. However, I was allocated the case from my managers, so
Yeah, but those.
From the CMHT.
No, but what support are you providing other than malevolence? Because your managers, who are we talking about? We're talking about Vicina Brown, all right, and we're talking about Nadia Khan, and ultimately we're talking about Mark Truin, all right. Those very people that put me into prison. So those people, your managers, felt that it was appropriate that I was defrauding my brother money, all right, on services, and therefore I need to go to prison and have all my money taken away from me. But those very same people are the decision makers. They're not coming forward to speak to me, so they're hiding behind the corporate veil and fronting you and saying, look, you do all the stuff while we make the decisions that are malevolent, that are detrimental to both me and my brother's interests. All right. And so then you're saying, oh, well, I've been put onto this. The decision makers is Mark Truin. Mark Truin's working for the NHS now. So in his place is Nadia Khan and Vicina Brown. And remember, I've asked you to review his case file where you were trying to depose me as his nearest relative. All right? Where you, so you understand, you were trying to remove me as his nearest relative so you can take power or control over him. When that failed, all right, you tried to, and he was discharged into my care. Several attempts have been made to take custody of him, all right, all because it looks really bad. It undermines your criminal conviction against me. Right? That's what this is all. That's what the elephant in the room is about. That's why you're writing anonymous letters and being evasive. Your criminal conviction against me for being a carer to my brother is what is the primary objective here. It's not looking after my brother's best interest. It's not looking after my mother's best interest. My mother has signed over a lasting power of attorney to me, just like my brother has, which undermines your criminal conviction. That criminal conviction is going to cost you millions of pounds. All right. So rather to protect yourself, you're playing this charade and a game with me. Chris, come on, Chris. I spoke to you. We spoke. My brother was here. All right. He told you, look, I don't want to deal with this. Deal with my brother. And can you understand? It causes him a great deal of anxiety and distress having to deal with malevolent individuals that are effectively in positions of power that are causing him harm and suffering. Now that's understandable and that's a reasonable response. If you're vulnerable and you have vulnerabilities of your own and inabilities, and there are people in power that are abusing that power, that's intimidating, isn't it? Like, for example, if I'm a police officer and I have power and I'm abusing that power and I'm targeting you, would you not feel anxiety and distress?
Yeah, I can understand what you're saying, but I think the difficulty is that Talib isn't being given the opportunity to say that to myself.
No, I mean, no. With all due respect, that's hogwash. He's been more than articulate over time. When you had him in your care and custody, namely when you had the opportunity, when I was no longer there, when the local authority and the health authority had kidnapped my brother in August, this very month, on the 6th of August 2018, all right, up until December 2018, you had him for 4 months. And for 4 months, he was able to articulate to you, fuck off and leave me alone. All right? In that 4 month time period, both your doctors, Dr. Sami, Dr. Dixon, Dr. Nasir, were manipulating my brother into getting him to and coaching him to say something negative about me. They were, oh, has your brother Shazad been beating you? Has he been abusing you? What does Shazad do? And all those answers to all those questions, my brother said, no, my brother Shazad is perfectly with me. He cares for me. The worst thing that my brother told you that I do to my brother is that when I give him a bath, I'm slightly rough with him when I'm rubbing his skin. That's the only thing he could complain about. That's it. But you couldn't get anything on me. All right. So you have had ample opportunity. My brother has said it 1,000 times to you people. Don't talk to me. All right. And you're saying he's not given me the opportunity. But why has he? Look, you're just come on board now. All right. So basically, what it is from yourself is that you say, look, we're gonna give you a choice. Here's a choice. You can have your money. All right, under these circumstances, when we say no, you're saying, okay, well, we'll ask the question again, and we'll ask the question again, because you're not listening to the answers that we're saying. All right, that my brother has said, I don't want to talk to you. He said, all right, well, we're going to say that you don't want to talk to us now, so we'll try again. And we'll try again until we get the answer that we want. That's how this works, isn't it? It's like, it's not the case that you're respecting what my brother's wishes are. You're saying my brother's not concurring with what you want, which is for him to say something negative or for him to promote your narrative. when he's not promoting your narrative, you're ignoring him and you're saying, let me ask the question again several times. So he gives you the right answer. So effectively, you're coaching him to give another response. He has made it more than articulated it in my absence. All right, to budget nota, to fungi. He's wrote it down. We've made videos. He's given a lasting power of attorney. We've done a mental capacity assessment. All these things do not go into your narrative. So you are ignoring them. And you say, well, I'm new. I want to speak to Talib. And I want him to say that. But that doesn't make. Then what's going to happen is that once you personally, Mr. Browall, are satisfied what I'm saying is right and what your manager's saying are wrong, you're going to go back to your managers and saying, look, with all good conscience, I can't do this anymore. This is not a problem. You get off the case. We'll put you in a different team. All right. We'll get somebody else on board. That somebody new is going to come on board and he's going to ask the same question. Mr. Talib has not told me personally that he does not want to speak to us. And so therefore we're back at square one. What's happening in the meantime is that every day that goes by, Talib's not getting access to his benefit money. All right? This is now a criminal act. All right? If you, the local authority, are not giving him unfettered access to his benefit money, it's having established that he has mental capacity, then you are doing a criminal act. And that criminal act, you can look it up. It's called R versus Shajjad Hussain. All right? 2016. That is the case that the local authority with the health authority, namely the city mental health team, convicted me of. You said to me that you put me into jail and ruthlessly, took all our money and everything and victimized me, saying I'm not giving him unfettered access to his money. So how can you do exactly the same thing and not say it's a criminal thing? Can you understand? So look, coming back to this letter, I need to know who's made the decision to write this letter to Talib when he's told you that so many times. What did Talib say to you or indicate to you when you came to see him?
He asked about what the balance of his money is. I think I remember him saying that was the only thing that I couldn't understand. That he said he didn't say very much, did he? But
yeah. Okay. So what is the balance?
I'm not aware of that. I know I asked on another case, and I was told that apparently people are allowed to know what the balance is.
The people.
So that's unusual.
What?
Seems unusual to me. Yeah, but that's what I was.
What?
Told.
Just hold on a second. You got Talib's money, and Talib has asked you directly. The only question he asked you is how much money have I got, and you're saying you can't tell him. You can't tell.
I'm not saying that was for another case.
No, I don't care about another case. Look, Mr. Browall, this is not the first time we've asked you this about this question. My brother's asked you this question. Prior to my brother asking you this question, I've asked you this question, if you remember in a conversation. I said, look, so like here you say you want to give us money. How much are you going to give? £250. Yeah? So you're deciding that all the time, all the accumulated money, you're just not going to tell us about that money. I've taken him to Pakistan, spent over 7-8 grand, all right? In 2019, I took him on a holiday, all right? That cost, so you're just basically accumulating this money and you're not even telling us how much money he's got. Because no, Mr. Browall. No, Mr. Browall. I'm sorry, Mr. Browall. This is totally unacceptable. So let's forget about everybody else. This is unacceptable conduct and behavior by you, Mr. Christopher Browall, because this question has been asked of you numerous times in the past, and in the past you've told me I'll get back to you, I'll find out for you. So not only has my brother asked this question, I have asked this question numerous times to you. How much is the outstanding balance? How much money are you holding for my brother? You said I'll...
not send out any letters? Did they not send a balance or anything like that?
Who are you talking about appointeeship? Just clarify to me. Who are you referring to?
So that's the legal department, the financial protection team, who if a person has appointeeship from the local authority, it's them who deals with that. So they'll be the ones that know what.
Yes, I mean, the thing is that you're talking about Mr. Muller here, aren't you? Mr. Muller is in charge of the financial team. Now, this is an issue of concern here. How has Bradford Council become the appointee for my brother? Has my brother authorized this?
beyond what I have knowledge of.
Yeah,
That's why
see,
there's
so
things
look,
like
so if you,
proceedings and things like
so
that.
so let me, all right. So let me explain something to you. I had appointeeship for my brother, all right, and my mother.
Yeah.
So I was their appointee prior to going to prison, all right. So when I went to prison, appointeeship does not get dissolved. It is a fraud committed by the local authority to make my brother Adalat an appointee. I did not relinquish appointeeship for my brother Talib. I mean, yes, in 20. So when I was in prison, I did not relinquish appointeeship. The DWP, who has a close association with Bradford Council, automatically made my brother Adalat the appointee. All right. So Adalat became appointee. That in itself is a fraud, because once you become an appointee, it's not an easy thing. Like for example, if I became my brother Talib's appointee, Talib could not refuse me being appointee. He could not withdraw appointeeship. All right. It's a very complicated process. It can't be done so easily. So when I was my brother Talib's appointee, right, before 2016, when I went to prison, when the local authority convicted me of defrauding my brother Talib money, then the local authority made Adalat the appointee. So Adalat was the appointee unlawfully, because I hadn't relinquished the appointeeship. Now, Adalat's been the appointee for got interim orders and so on and so forth. All right. Now, when Adalat has not given up appointeeship too, he's not said I'm withdrawing my appointeeship. No evidence exists for that. What's happened is that my brother Talib has given me lasting power of attorney. When I've registered that with the Department of Work and Pensions, and when I've told you, the council have become aware of this, you've made a fraudulent order saying that you became his deputies. You are not his deputies. That's a fraudulent order. Adalat was involved. So the fact that you are his appointee is a fraud in itself. Because number one, my brother Talib has not given you permission to be his appointee. Number two, I was the appointee. I've not withdrawn my appointeeship. Number three, Adalat fraudulently became the appointee. He's not withdrawn the appointeeship for you to become the appointee. Number four, all right, you fraudulently got a deputyship order in order to become the appointee. That's a fraud, all right. So now that you have become the appointee, all right, you're saying that we're in charge of his finances and we don't even have to tell you about this money. This is a complete fraud. Now, going back on this, how have you become the appointee when you have criminally convicted me of defrauding him money, which you're now defrauding him? Now, the thing is, you're going to say, well, you see, Mr. Hussain, the fraud happened when my appointeeship has been withdrawn. When my appointeeship for Talib has been withdrawn, all right, while I was in prison. Now, the reasonable argument that's going to be made is, well, you can understand, Mr. Hussain, that you got convicted of defrauding Talib benefit money. So therefore, by default, it was unreasonable for you to continue to be the appointee because you were in prison. All right. So that's why, reasonably speaking, the appointeeship was given to your brother Adalat. That seems reasonable. Yeah. But that's not. That's you. It's not. We're not talking about what's reasonable. We're talking about what the law is. There is the law. An appointee was in place. Somebody had to make the decision to withdraw my appointeeship in order to give it to Adalat in 2016. The argument can be made that because I was in prison, that appointeeship should be removed because I was convicted of financial fraud by you, the council. Now, that all seems kind of reasonable. However, one crucial fact puts the cat amongst the pigeons is that whilst I was in prison and throughout my sentence, and once I became released, up until 2019, I was appointee for my mother, who you had convicted me of also financially frauding her. So how can I be the appointee of one person and not the appointee of another person, given my criminal conviction of frauding my mother and my brother? Do you understand? If, for example, like you said, if I had been criminally convicted of defrauding my mother and my brother, all right, then appointeeship, there must be a law saying that, well, that person is a conflict of interest for that person to continue to be the appointee and receive money. Then why was I still receiving money from my mother up until 2019 after I had been released? You know, Mr. Browall, this is a very, very complicated case, and it's complicated because fraud and deception is taking place by you, the local authority, by you, the district care trust, and various other people, because you're trying to cover up your own failures and victimize and target me and Talib. That's where the problem lies. Now, this letter, are you prepared to tell me who the decision maker is so I can speak to them? Because obviously I need to speak to somebody who's making these decisions, because what you're failing to understand is this, that by law you are acting and behaving, you're doing it's criminal, all right? And number one, and number two is, I've made it very clear to you people that because you're doing something criminal, and because in order for you to do something criminal, you are buying off the services of the judges, the justices, the lawyers, the solicitors, the barristers, and putting me into this situation that every week that goes by, I'm charging £1 million for that service, for my efforts. So I need to speak to somebody about this, rather than them making the decisions behind the corporate veil, all right, that are detrimental to both me and my brother, and then fronting you. So you get the ear on verbal abuse or whatever of my wrath or anger and frustration, and you're saying I'm innocent in this, all right. And then, for example, as an example, another person in my situation would direct their anger and frustration at you as the personification of the local authority, and I would say use profanities against you and make verbal threats against you, say I'm going to come and find you and I'm going to kill you and I'm going to blah blah blah, yeah. Then your decision maker would say, great, all right, go tell the police now that you feel threatened and intimidated, he's threatened to kill you. Can you understand? So the decision makers are doing something that is detrimental, causing us harm and suffering. When we're reacting, your job is basically to ensure that whatever I say, that can be reported to the police, and then we can be further victimized. And the decision makers that are doing this are, once again, their hands are totally clean.
Is there not like a legal means that you can kind of communicate though?
Yes, there is.
A lawyer or
Yes,
like that?
there is a legal means I can communicate. More importantly, there's a legal means where my brother Talib can communicate. The legal means is the lasting power of attorney that my brother's authorized to give to me. Now, with regards to the solicitors, do you think I'm a fool? Do you think I'm stupid? When my brother was incarcerated when you had kidnapped him, when I say you, colloquially I'm speaking about you, the local authority, and the city mental health team or the NHS in August 2018. And then looked to remove and depose me as nearest relative. I did go get a solicitor. I got Bateman solicitors. I'm sure you're familiar with Bateman's. All right. Yeah. So Bateman solicitors, even though I had got Bateman solicitors for my brother Talib, you, the local authority, commissioned his services. Do you understand? So you, the local authority, commissioned his services. All right. So then he wouldn't talk to me saying, you're not the client, my brother Talib's the client, and he's been blah blah blah. So that all kind of messed up. So what happens is that never mind me getting a solicitor. And this has happened to me many times, as you can appreciate, Mr. Browall. I've had criminal cases brought against me. I've recently, my mum's case, I've spoken to solicitors. Solicitors are irrelevant because the local authority, buy their services. You commission their services. My solicitor, previously my mum's case, you had bought his services, and he was saying I lack litigation capacity. All right. Now, Mr. Browall, you're a care coordinator. No doubt you know what the city you do know what it means to have mental capacity. Could it be argued that someone like me, all right, lacks litigation capacity when I'm fluent in English and I give you and quote you the laws and stuff? But you see, that's the situation I was facing earlier on in the year, in January this year, when my solicitor services had been bought off by you, the council, and he was had made the argument that I lack litigation capacity. So this is the problem, you see. All the solicitors, it doesn't matter which solicitor, and this particular solicitor was from London. It doesn't matter which solicitor I get, all right, and whether I pay him privately or not. That solicitor is a professional. He's in it to make money. The local authority says, look, you work for us unofficially, all right, and get us to achieve our objectives. And all solicitors bow down, because the solicitors know that the local authority do the same thing with the judges. all the judges are on the being on the fiddle, on the take by the local authority. So what legal route do you want me to take when the public guardian, Mr. Nick Goodwin, all right, has had his services purchased? All right. Why is this case even? How has my brother's legitimate lasting power of attorneys been overturned? How? I've done everything by the law, by the book. All right. I've made videos of my brother saying, "Look, I've got mental capacity. I'm giving my authority to my brother Shazad." But you see that neither can my brother, neither can my mother give me legal authority on their behalf, because it undermines your criminal conviction, which is worth over £1 million now.
Like I say, I don't know very much about it. That's why would there not be a better way? Someone would be able to provide an answer to your questions rather than
the best person to provide the answers is the decision maker on your side. You understand? And they're cowering away and hiding because they know they're liable not only for my mother's murder now, my brother Nazim's murder in 2014. You understand? We as a family are well known to the local authority and the health authority ever since 1983. So we're well known. We are well known as a family. My brother Nazim was well known for the team. That got 1983. Can I ask how old were you in 1983?
7.
Yeah, so you were 7 in 1983. We as a family have been dealing with this since you were 7, well before you became an adult. So we as a family have been dealing with this, all right? So, we're known to the both health authorities and local authorities, and we are being exploited as a family, all right? And I've come on board and look at what I'm doing. I'm a university educated person, and I'm speaking to you in English in your language, and yet there's all this confusion and tomfoolery and shenanigans going on. All right, it's very clear. Look, I'm reading this letter. I want to know how this letter is quite clearly evidence, because on this letter it says that you would test for your blood pressure in January 2021 and have been prescribed medication for this. How do you, the council, know this?
I don't know.
How has the council got into my brother's medical records? All right, we're now in a situation. Let me address these 3 points that somebody has asked you to translate for Talib's purposes regarding his money. Yeah. Where did we get to? What position did we get in June when we last spoke? Before the missed appointment in what position were we in May in June when we last spoke regarding the July missed appointment regarding his money? Where did we stand on that?
With regards to what? Sorry.
With regards to his money, what conclusion had we reached? How could we move forward regarding getting Talib his money?
So you said that you wanted the Talib wanted his money paid back to the DWP and then for them to pay it direct to Talib.
Yes. And what did you say at the time? Because look, has Talib not clearly articulated that he does not want the money?
I don't know. Not to me. Obviously, it doesn't.
But he's not. Look, all right, not to you, but we're not talking. We don't have. Talib does not have a personal relationship with you. He has a relationship, an illegitimate relationship with a city mental health team. Is it not true that in Baljat Nota and Fungai Muchichitiri had knocked up on Talib's door in Oldham when I was not there? I remember this specifically. Talib had opened the door. They said, "We're here to give you money," and he had told them, "Give them to my brother and fuck off and leave me alone," and slammed the door in his face. Did that not happen?
Yeah, that could very well have happened. Yeah.
Is that not recorded anywhere?
I'm sure it is somewhere.
Okay. All right. So okay. He's told somebody he's been verbally abusive. Told you to fuck off and leave him alone. He's told you, "I don't want the money. Give it to my brother Shazad." Okay. Now, in the past, That is very clear. That, you know, I don't know how much more clear do you want it from him. All right, I'll make a video of him telling you, I don't want the money, give it to Shazad. All right, he said that so many times. All right, that obviously conflicts with your narrative. And has it not been the case that I have previously been accepting the money? All right. So the person that you, the city mental health team, and the council have criminally convicted for defrauding Talibi's benefit money, you have then been forced to give me the money. So prior to when we were living in Bradford, before us moving to Oldham, being made homeless and finding shelter with our sister in Oldham, was I not collecting the money myself? Was Baljit Nota and Funga and Machichiteri not giving me the money in my hands? Yes, so they were. So Taliban said, I don't want the money, give it to Shazad. Shazad has then been collecting the money, but with you physically coming to deliver the money and putting the money in my hands. Has it not the case that since February 2021, when we were made homeless, and the council took over the care of our mother, and we didn't get to see her subsequently, that I have now refused to accept the money for Talib? Yes?
Okay, yeah.
So that's the progress we've made over these years. Talib has consistently, persistently, 1,000 times since his discharge, since his abduction, I don't want the money, give it to my brother Shazad. I have refused to take the money because obviously it puts me in a different situation. Then reluctantly I've accepted the money. The final straw was when you malevolently kidnapped our mother and made us homeless, both me and my brother Talib. Since February 2021, which is over a year ago now, Talib's not received a penny, has he?
No.
All right. So for what is it? For over like more than 15 months, all right, Talib's not received one single penny of his benefit money. And the reason that he's not receiving one single penny of his benefit money is because I am Shazad, his brother, his carer, is refusing to accept that money. All right. So somebody has said, forget Shazad, let's go back to Talib and write to him in Urdu and English and say, do you want the money now?
Okay.
All right. How infuriating is that? We made progress. He said, what's changed? All right. You are holding on to his benefit money. This is a criminal act. All right. You cannot, even the DWP, even the police would not legally cannot hold on to this money and accumulate it. It is a criminal offense. How much more times do I have to scream at you and saying this? What you're doing is criminal. All right. You cannot look, Mr. Browall. No doubt, you are an employee of the council or the housing association. You yourself, on a personal, I don't need to go into your personal circumstances, whether you're married, whether you got children, and so on and so forth. But you know that you're being affected personally regarding the rising energy crisis, the rising cost of living. All right, you personally, am I wrong there? Are you trying to tell me you've not been affected by the rising cost of living?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, especially when it gets clean to you.
Yes, and especially this October when energy prices are rising once again. So you personally, and I'm just picked you out at random. I can pick anybody in the UK right now at random. Everybody's being affected by the rising cost of living. Yes? And here is my brother Talib, never mind being affected by the rising cost of living, he's got no access to any money.
Would we be able to start providing that money again? Is that an option?
Come on, Mr. Browall, and I'm exasperated at this. Of course it's an option. We've told you how to give him the money. Give it back to tell us how much money he's got first. All right? And give him all of it in one go. All right? And remove yourself as the appointee, because your appointeeship is, you've done a criminal act. And what you're saying to me, and what is my reason for not accepting this money now is because you're asking me, by accepting the money, and like what you're saying, can we give him the money? If me or Talib accept this money, we are basically condoning criminality. Because we believe your appointeeship is a criminal act. So this is proceeds of crime then. You're asking us to accept stolen money or criminal money. How can we, law-abiding, God-fearing, accept your criminal money. So look, for argument's sake, let's just say for argument today, for argument's sake, I say, yes, Mr. Browall, can you give us some money? You said, no problem, Mr. Hussain, I'm going to pop over tomorrow with £250. Soon as you give me that £250, we've accepted the criminal's enterprise. We've validated, we've accepted that what you're doing is legitimate. You are not legally entitled. You may have got his appointeeship, but that's unlawful. It's criminal, all right? What you're doing, I did not give up the appointeeship for Adalat to take it. Adalat has not given up the appointeeship for you to take it. You have not got a court order being his deputy because evidently the judge did not make that order. You fraudulently put an order together. The court order, the reason that the council are the appointee is because they're claiming that they got a court order in January 2018 from Judge Hesford that stated that you're the deputies, and you're not. You've doctored a court order. This matter is now in the court of protection, and that since February I've given evidence that both my sister Shaida and my brother Adalat, who were in court that day, have verbally confirmed to me that in that hearing where the council were not a party, that the local authority, Bradford Council, were not made the deputy. Now you think about this, Mr. Browall, and this is it just beggars belief. In that hearing which I attended and the judge kicked me out of, Talib did not attend. The only people in court that day was the judge, my brother Adalat, his solicitor, and my sister Shaida. All right. Of those 4 people, the local authority nobody from the local authority was there, and they were not even a party to the proceedings. How can then a judge make the local authority my Talib's deputy? And the bottom line is they didn't. They doctored the court order. This is a very serious criminal offense. Do you agree with me, all right, that if you get a court order and it's fraudulent, that's a serious criminal matter?
Yeah, I don't know enough about
No.
That's why you did
It doesn't matter. Any lay person knows. Like, for example, you understand if I give you a £20 note and it's a forgery, that's a criminal offence, isn't it? Do I need to tell you that's a criminal offence if I give you a forged note? Yeah? That's a criminal offence, isn't it? Yeah, it's called forgery, all right? If, for example, there's a court order, a court has made a court order, and you messed around with it, all right, and said this is what the court said. This is I just can't understand how that is worse than a forgery, a monetary forgery. A court, you're basically taken a court order and added your name onto it, which is negating the whole thing. The court order clearly stated in the case of my brother Talib, when my brother Adalat had brought this case to court, that the Adalat could remain interim deputy for my brother Talib until such point as a professional deputy could be allocated. All right, a professional deputy is someone like Veronica Mullins from Ramsden Solicitors, that's their job, not the local authority. The local authority later on added their own name onto the court order. So can you understand, until these questions are addressed, until these inquiries are fully answered with, we cannot accept money. And if Talib does not get money, you are negligent because he can die. How you tell me this person has not received not one single penny of benefit money, which you've confessed to me right here, right now, which is an undeniable fact since February 2021, and we're in August 2022. All right, March, April, May, June, July, August. That's 6 months plus 12, so that's 18 months. The person has received absolutely no money in benefit. How is he alive?
Well, yeah, absolutely. And if he's accrued lots of backdated money, then, once he started accepting that money, he could accept more of it because it's his money. So instead of it being
that's not the question.
£50 every fortnight,
No,
you'd
no,
be able to
no,
get
no, 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 Mr. Browell. £300, £400, irrelevant. I have asked you a simple question. An individual who you, the local authority, have a duty of care to, an individual who's out in the community under Section 117 aftercare, which is basically nothing in place, a person who's a vulnerable person who has had previously had his carer criminally convicted, all right, is out in the community, and for 18 months he's not received one single penny of any income. The question to you is, how is this person alive?
Well, we don't know. Other than that, you as his carer must be supporting him to keep him in food and ensure that he's kind of looked after.
Okay, so me as his carer, and also me as the person you have criminally convicted of defrauding him money. That's who I am, isn't it? And you, as a local authority, have entrusted the care and life of to a person that you have criminally convicted of defrauding him. Now, is that not negligent? Just imagine this. Just imagine this, that my brother Talib is a child. Just imagine this, and you had criminally convicted of me of raping him. All right. So I had gone to prison of criminally raping him. All right. And he's a child or a vulnerable person or whatever. All right. So let's say the criminal conviction that you had managed to secure against me was not one of financial fraud, but one was of sexual rape. So I had been sexually raping my brother. All right. And gone to prison for that. And now you're telling me that you place that person back into the care and custody of a person that you had convicted of raping him. And you're saying that's not, and you're saying that's not negligent. So that's an analogy. So what I'm asking you is that you've mentioned to me previously that you have a duty of care, lawful duty of care, so on and so forth. All right. You've placed my brother Talib into the care and custody of an individual who you have previously criminally convicted of financially defrauding this person, and now he's in that person's care and custody, and he's not received access to any of that money. So how is he still alive then?
I don't know. That would assume that would start off as a safeguarding after, so the criminal conviction is a separate thing, but criminal conviction on itself doesn't mean that you're not capable of caring for your brother, I would assume.
Okay, so, but can you understand that does my brother has not, all right, fair enough, let's go on that argument then. I'm obviously capable of caring for my brother and looking after him, and that's correct. And I've quite clearly told you that there's a cost associated with that, isn't there?
Yeah.
All right, and what is that cost?
I think you said it's £1 million a week.
That's correct. Thank you. And so presently he's out. Do you agree that he's out in the community under Section 117 aftercare?
He's entitled to Section 117.
Yes. All right. How is that set? He's out in the. He's entitled because he was under a mental health act. All right. So he's entitled to Section 117 aftercare. How presently, since his discharge into my care in January 2019, what does that care plan involve?
So it would need to, I would imagine it starts from an assessment of care support needs, which would need to be a care act assessment.
Mm-hmm. Was that done when he was discharged from into my care?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Okay. So if it was not done, would you agree that that's negligent on your part if he's been discharged? If somebody you're saying was held under a Section 3, all right, he's been discharged into my care, he's entitled to an assessment. That would have been carried out, no doubt. All right. So can you just briefly tell me, as his care coordinator, what does his care package consist of?
I don't know, because I haven't, I've only met Talib once, and I haven't conducted an assessment.
Mr. Browall, with all due respect, my brother's been out in the community in my care since 2019. He's out on he's entitled to Section 117 aftercare. what does his care package consist of? That is not something that you need to discuss with my brother. That's something that that's readily available to you. He's out in the community. You have a legal duty of care, both the health authority and the local authority. My question is simple: what kind of care packages you have?
Well, I'd have to look at the care plan.
Okay.
And see what says in the care plan.
Okay.
I could look at previous care assessments if he was in the city care. Could look back at other care.
So right now, as his care coordinator, you do not have a clue what his care his section 117 aftercare package consists of.
No, because you're his carer and I've only been able to see telephone.
Okay, no, but that is correct, isn't it? That is correct. So Talibs are in the community under Section 117 aftercare, placing a duty and care on both the local authority and the health authority. And the care package presently in place, which you've told me earlier on, is in my care, and I'm charging £1 million a week. That's his care package, isn't it?
Right, okay.
That is his care package. Unless you can tell me there's another care package in place.
I don't know how you would quantify that's the level of care that he needs.
Okay, that is a different matter, isn't it? Quantifying my charging policy is a different matter. What I want you to do is I want you to quantify what is his care package. That's quantifiable, isn't it? He was in you, the health authority and local authority, Vicina Brown, Nadia Khan, with the police, came to my house, came to our home, and kidnapped my brother on the 6th of August 2018. All right, you took him from here and you put him into your care and custody. All right, so you had him in your care and custody from the 6th of August 2018 to the 14th of December 2018. So he was in your care and custody. You had ample opportunity to assess his mental capacity, assessment needs, everything, all the paperwork. He's then been discharged into my care since the 14th of December 2018, more formally since January 2019. All right, we're in now August 2022. I'm asking very simple, basic questions that anybody would asking a reasonable person would ask. What kind of care packages have you put him on when he was discharged?
I don't know. I can't answer that.
Yes. Yeah, you were not involved. But those people that are the decision makers and are held accountable clearly are. Now in in January 2018, 7 months before you kidnapped him, all right, and took him into your care and custody, in court, in an open letter to the court, which you, the local authority, were there when you were going to take the money, I said to you, I charge £1 million a week for the people in my care and custody. So I've established I've quantified it. I've said, look, I charge £1 million, all right? And if you want me to further quantify, like, oh, it's not worth £1 million, I'm dealing with people. I think it is worth £1 million a week because you know why? Because you, the local authority, are buying off judges. Do you tell me this, Mr. Browall? Earlier on in the conversation, you said to me, "Oh, is there not a legal route? Could you not get a solicitor? Could you not get a barrister to deal with you?" You said that earlier on. Now, I'm asking you this question: if the local authority buys off the services of the judges, what are my options then?
I would imagine that you need the lawyer to write letters in legal terms to what.
Mr. Brown. I'm asking a simple question. If judges, you know what judges, don't you?
Yeah.
All right. If judges are acting like rent boys and prostituting out their services to the local authority, what can I do? What's a solicitor going to do? If a judge is prostituting out their services and renting out court time and court decisions to the local authority, what are my options?
You have to go to the European Court or the High Court, something like that.
But I'm once again facing a judge, aren't I? If the local authority uses public money to buy off and purchase the services of judges in order to get an outcome that they desire, what are my options? What can I do about that?
I don't know. You'd have to seek advice about that.
Yeah. Yes. And you know what is, when I did get a legal aid funded solicitor and I saw advice about that, you know what they told me? They said the legal aid doesn't cover that, and we think you got mental health problems. All right, and we think you lack litigation capacity. We can't take instructions from you anymore. Mr. Browall, you're an intelligent person, all right. And although you may have a small remit, you understand what I'm talking about here is systemic corruption, endemic systemic fraud and corruption at the level of the local authority, health authority, and all the rest of it. This is, and obviously you're here to do a job, but this is the reality of the situation, because none of this makes sense, does it? Come on, any reasonable person would say, look, this doesn't make sense. There's a vulnerable person, Mr. Talib was saying, who's out in the community and he's not got access to any money. And yet, previously, the local authority have been so concerned that Talib is not getting access to his money from his carer, namely me, that they've taken criminal action and convicted me. So previously, when I was living with Talib, there was no concern. Talib was well looked after, then fed properly, everything was perfect. You had a concern, you put me into prison as a local authority. Now, by your own confession, you've told me that 18 months, Talib is not receiving one penny to live off, and he's a vulnerable person. And you're writing me these pathetic letters, writing Talib these pathetic letters, who he can't read, knowing the fact that he's not going to be able to read them in English or Urdu. Ask him, can you give him some money? And then you're saying to me, Mr. Browall, that, oh, well, if you accept some money, then obviously we can always increase that, and you're refusing to tell me how much money he's got available to him.
I'm not, I just don't know what money he's got. I'm not refusing to tell you, I don't know, but you're right. Like I said, I thought the politicians would send, people letters and say how much money and what balance they've got. I think that's a right that Talib should have, and it all seems reasonable. If it was to accept money, I'd try and work with both yourself and Talib to try and increase that money as much as possible. So Talib would agreement
yes,
to his money and get backdated there.
Yes, but can you understand? All right, well, if you're looking to help Talib, this is help, and ultimately you understand, if by helping Talib, you'll be helping me. Is that something you're willing to do? By helping Talib, are you willing to help me?
Well, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Okay. All right. Well, fair enough. Well, let me explain something to you then. Talib has got money that you, the local authority, are accumulating that are from the DWP, his benefit money. All right. In addition to this, Talib has got money held by Adalat in the region of £80,000. All right. Now, right. So you're willing to help. Presently, Talib is suffering as a consequence, not because of his mental health problems, because as you can appreciate, he needs dental care. All right. He needs money, and we want to go private. And with regards to the GP, and we don't. He's got money. He's got £80,000 held by Adalat. All right. He's got, I don't know, maybe I think I estimate around about £30,000 held by you, the council. So this person's got over £100,000, and yet he's suffering. He can't eat properly. Now, if you want to help Talib and you want to help me, like you're stating, I've told you that I charge £1 million a week, all right, for these care and services. Help us get that £1 million a week then.
Well, I'm not going to be able to get £1 million a week.
No, I said help us. I said help us get that $1 million, because that's what he's entitled to.
Yeah, so, personally, I don't agree with that.
Okay, all right.
Okay, all right. I don't know.
All right. There's no. All right. Can you understand the money that you've taken that Adalat's got? That's his money too, through a court order. the what happened is that the court had ordered in January, January 2018, the court had ordered money to be taken from my bank accounts, given to the West Yorkshire Police, and West Yorkshire Police have given that money to Adalat. All right, that's still a Talib's money, yes, by court. That's in the region of £80,000 or more. All right, will you agree with me that that should be given to Talib as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Now, what the only
as there is a appointeeship in place, I know that that's disputed and contested, but the appointeeship, that money should, I'm not saying what my personal opinion is, but the appointeeship in place is that money should be in the appointeeship and Talib should be given access to it.
Yes, all right. So if Talib wants to go on holiday, so since I've taken him on holiday in 2019, you've been on holiday, haven't you?
Yeah.
Everybody else is going on holiday, aren't they? So why is my brother not allowed to go on holiday? I took him on holiday in 2019 with my own money. So Talib's do you think after Talib losing his mother, not seeing his mother for the last 335 days of her life, would Talib not benefit from a holiday?
Absolutely, but the thing is that whilst there is that appointeeship in place, and for other people who've got appointeeships with the local authority as the appointee, if they require their money, say for a holiday, they can request that, and then you can request extra money to pay for a holiday.
Yeah.
Now,
So
I understand that you don't accept the appointeeship, but the fact is that that's currently what's in place, so that would be how we could access his money.
Okay, all right, okay. No, look, Mr. Browall. You know I'm an intelligent person, so please don't try to think that you're gonna get win over me or win around me. Obviously, we're not going to be accepting the money, all right? But can you understand that irrespective of what's in place, my brother has certain fundamental rights. One of those fundamental rights is having access to social security money. That's a fundamental right, innit? He still has that right. That right has not been taken away from him. Number one. And number two, that's the money that you, the council, are accumulating. Number two is that he has a fundamental legal right to the money that Adalat's holding on to, £80,000. That's his fundamental right. Now, you can make the argument, well, actually, that money should be given to the appointee, the appointee or, the deputy. All right, that's fair enough. But it will be then negligent on the deputy or the appointee if that money is not given to Talib. He has needs that are not being met. Let's just put everything else to one side. Talib's needs are not being met. Financial needs. Yeah. And so those needs are not going to be met in the foreseeable future given the present status quo. Now, the money that Talib has, that's his money. Now, he's not getting that money. That can be solved straight away, couldn't it? We've told you, look, this could be solved by tomorrow. All right? I'll give you Talib's bank account number. That's Talib's bank account. Just put the money into Talib's bank account. All of it. All right? It's end of problem. It is you, the council, that don't want to put the money in Talib's bank account. Because the only way you can justify that you don't want to give Talib unfettered access to his money is if he lacks mental capacity. And you've not been able to prove that. So that's the first point, all right? That's why Bali Baljet Noto was involved. That's why all the shenanigans with what happening last year from August onwards, from July, August onwards last year, when you were trying to get Dr. Todd to rubber stamp a false declaration that my brother had lacked mental capacity. Now, I presented to you with what I independent, privately done, carried out, paid over £500 for an independent mental capacity assessment. You're not choosing to accept that. So because you, the local authority, don't accept that my brother has mental capacity. So let me just ask this question right now, Mr. Browall, as his care coordinator. Do you accept that my brother has mental capacity or not?
I haven't really able to speak with him. I would be able to complete a mental capacity assessment, and then I'd be able to have a better idea.
Mr. Browall, do you have any evidence that my brother lacks mental capacity with you?
Personally, I don't have evidence.
Does the local authority or the health authority have any evidence that my brother lacks mental capacity?
been attested that
No, that's not the question, Mr. Browall. With all due respect, the question is, does the local authority or the health authority presently have in its possession any evidence to suggest that my brother has lacked mental capacity?
Well, the courts were trying to arrange for a capacity assessment, so that will be the purpose of that assessment, was to assess if he lacks capacity or not.
You know what? It's a very simple question. Does the local authority or the health authority have in its possession any evidence to suggest that my brother lacks mental capacity? Do you have any evidence to suggest that he lacks mental capacity? Do you have anything like that? It's a yes or no answer, not what the courts are doing or gonna do or whatever. Does the local authority or the health authority have any single evidence to suggest that my brother lacks mental capacity?
It depends on with regards to what decision. I know that he was assessed as
Look, any decision, just hold on a second. Any decision. Has there ever been a decision reached that the local authority can evidence that my brother lacks mental capacity in any decision?
I wouldn't be able to give a categorical answer on that. It's not something, I could look over all of the notes and records and see if there is a capacity assessment that says that he lacks capacity, but I can't give a...
Okay, all right. So you cannot definitely confirm to me right now that there is, you, the local authority, you, the health authority, definitively have some evidence that he lacks capacity in any decision. You can't confirm that to me right now, can you?
I can't confirm that.
All right.
No,
Okay. So what about the converse? Do you have any evidence to confirm in the affirmative that he has the decision-making capacity in any decision? Do you have any evidence for that?
Yeah, there's a capacity assessment here that's about Sally making a decision of where he wants to live and does he have the capacity to make that decision. So,
all right. When was that capacity assessment carried out?
That was
Mental capacity assessment?
Yeah, that was Vicina.
All right, so Vicina Brown has determined that in March 2019, my brother Talib has the capacity to make decisions regarding where he wants to reside. All right, and you have now in your possession regarding his mental capacity in the affirmative carried out by Nelly Support Services on the 6th of August 2021. Nelly Services is a private organization that carries out, specialize in this. All right, that he can make decisions regarding his finances. All right.
Yeah, I'm aware of that.
Okay. All right. So you're aware of that capacity assessment. So as it presently stands, and we can just move off this topic. As it presently stands, you, the local authority, have no definitive evidence to suggest that my brother lacks the mental capacity in any decision-making process. All right. So you got no evidence of that, or you don't have it at hand, or you're not aware of it. Number one. Number two is that by your own confession, by March 2019, Vicina Brown has concluded that in one domain of decision making, namely where he wants to reside, he's got decision making capacities. I've then further in 2021 given you further evidence in another domain like who wants to be in charge of his finances. He's made a decision regarding that, so the definitive evidence that exists regarding his decision making capacities. And also with regards to the law itself, the very first principle of the Mental Capacity Act states that it should be assumed that he has mental capacity in making his own decisions. So if he can make his own decisions, so that means he's normal, right? Like everybody else, in regards to, as far as the law is concerned regarding his capacity for making decisions, his paranoid schizophrenia is irrelevant, all right? His mental condition is irrelevant to his status in order to receive money or make his own decisions, all right? So why then, if this person, just like you or me, has and according to the Mental Capacity Act, is assumed to have capacity, that his decisions are not being respected, and he's not getting access to his benefit money. Now, if, for example, the person has mental capacity and can make his own decisions, and an appointeeship is in place, and that appointeeship is not working and is not to my brother's satisfaction, and my brother has mental capacity, can he not withdraw that appointeeship himself?
I assume so, yes.
Yeah, of course. Yes.
Would be able to, yeah.
Yes, of course you can. If he has capacity, see, the whole thing centers around his mental capacity. And as it stands today, on the 1st of August 2022, if it's been now, you have no evidence to support that he lacks mental capacity. All right? And if he doesn't lack mental capacity, how have you, the local authority, taken charge and looked to convict his carer for managing his money when he never told you to do this? You see, Mr. Browall, I'm not sure of your marital status, but what right do I have or any other person have to charge you for domestic violence and convict you of domestically abusing your partner when your partner has never raised a complaint?
I think we spoke about this before. She said that when it's paid in direct payments, he still can't just spend that money. Even if Talib, if he was getting paid money in direct payments to go towards his care, to pay for an outside agency, even if Talib makes that decision to give that money to you, that's still kind of fraudulent, really, because
Okay,
he's not there.
Look, no, just hold on a second. I know about direct payments. If Talib wants to pay that money to do drugs, all right? If Talib wants to use that money to buy prostitutes, if Talib wants to pay that money to whoever he wants in order to meet his needs, he can do that by law. There is no definition in the legislation that states what he can and cannot do, as long as the outcomes are clearly benefit him. So, for example, if the direct payments was used money to hire prostitutes for him to have sex with prostitutes, and that helped him his mental capacity, mental health, then that's what the direct payments are for. Then the direct payments are not simply there to pay agency workers. He can use that money, that's his money, to use to meet his needs. If those needs, if for example my brother Talib cannot have sexual relations with people, and that's causing him to have a mental breakdown, that's causing him to go into hospital to be sectioned, then the direct payment money can be used that way. You are not an expert in this for you to be giving comments about this. Yeah. Okay. The priority is to meet his needs, and so you're wrong there. But irrespective of the direct payments which you brought up, he was receiving benefit money, which I was an appointee of. This is what beggars belief. Forget the direct payments. I've also been convicted of defrauding him his benefit money, where I was his appointee.
She said I was due to finish at 5 o'clock, so we've been on an hour and a half now.
Okay, all right, Mr. Browall. With respect.
It's nearly 6:30 now.
Look, with Mr. Browall, I don't want to take up your time. I've got other important things to do as well. Obviously, the point of me contacting you today is to find out exactly what's happened since we last spoke on the missed appointment on the 7th of July. I've received this letter. You've not told me who sent this letter. This is very this is just an affront to what's going on here. Like I would like to rearrange an appointment to speak to you on the telephone with an answer to the question that Talib had asked you. How much money has the council got of the local authority? How much money has the Talib how much of Talib's money have you got? That's a question that he directly asked you, which you confirmed to me in the conversation today, which you cannot give an answer to. Now, how long is it going to take you to get that answer to us?
Say 2 weeks.
Why is it going to take you 2 weeks?
Well, say 1 week then.
Mr. Browall, you know, you're going back on this, oh, I'm going to take 2 weeks because I'm going to monitor the situation. Because obviously you've not asked me how Talib's doing. And because you've not asked me, I'm just going to tell you we're doing fine without you. We just want our money, all right? Because obviously money is a problem here, all right? Talib's been taken care of. It is £1 million. Whether you personally agree with that or don't agree with that is irrelevant. Whether your senior managers personally agree with that or disagree with that is irrelevant, all right? It is a fact. My brother is entitled, and my brother's out in the community under a Section 117 aftercare. The package in place is that I'm providing the care and support services. I've clearly told the local authority I'm not doing that for free. You've said to me earlier on in the conversation, well, you're his brother, you're expected to do that. I'm not his only brother, am I? Why is a dad?
I know, I didn't say that like that.
Okay, no, but you implied. No, but you implied the fact that because I have a personal relationship with my brother, that there is an expectation on the local authority or other people care for him for free. That's not me, all right? There may be other people that do that, all right? And that's all good to them. But also, what's an interesting factor is that those other people are not being criminally convicted by the local authority, all right? The criminal conviction is the most important part in the justification of the £1 million, all right? Without the criminal conviction, I could not sit here and charge £1 million. You falsely criminally convicted me by buying off the judges and the judiciary and perverted the institution of justice. So that's what hence that justifies the £1 million a week. So I'll answer that question. Now, with regards to his finances, can you understand? You take 2 weeks, you take 5 weeks. No doubt you can take as long as you like, but it doesn't change the fact that every week Talib is not getting access to his money. If you want to move things forward quickly, why can't you ring up tomorrow? Are you in work tomorrow?
I'm in work tomorrow.
Why can't you just pick up the telephone, ring up your colleague, Mr. Muller, all right? Speak to Mr. Muller or one of his team or his assistants and say, just give us an account balance, all right? And why don't you then, once you've received the account balance, send a quick email? We can do this by tomorrow, all right? You can just pick up the phone.
I can see if I can speak with finance and request that, whether I'll be able to get an answer or not. Fair enough.
Okay, all right.
You know, and if I did get an answer for tomorrow, that's fine. That's whether they give me an answer. And if I did,
all right. All right.
An hour and a half on phone now. I can't spend another hour and a half on phone tomorrow.
No, that's fair enough. No, I think that's very reasonable, Mr. Browall. I think that's very reasonable. I'm not expecting you to give me a call back and tomorrow or the day after or something like that. But this issue needs to get resolved. Can you understand? There's a vulnerable person who's not getting access to money, and you're saying, well, let's do it 2 weeks later. That's another 2 weeks that you're adding on. All right, that nothing's going to get resolved. And remember, Mr. Browall, I've asked you this question several times prior to my brother at the Talib asking this question in May. I've asked you in March, April, before how much money has he got. In fact, yeah.
I will try and get you an answer this week.
Okay, all right. Okay, that's yeah. Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
Their answer might not be with the account balance. It's up to them. All I can do is
Mr. Brown, what's stopping me from sending a quick email to Mr. Muller and saying, please, can you give me an account balance? I've got his email address. Yeah. Yeah. Well, so what role are you playing then?
What's that again? Sorry.
What role are you playing? No, but what does that mean? That's just a title. That's just your title. What practical role are you playing in assisting my brother Talib? Because you see, you can pick up the phone and speak to Mr. Muller. I can't pick up the phone and speak to Mr. Muller because they've put all sorts of conditions, like restrictions upon me. All right, number one. Number two is that Mr. Muller is not he's not needed to reply to anything. You can pick up the phone and say, look, this is my client. We are the local authority of a duty of care. I'm looking to resolve this matter. We're now in August. This person does not receive access to his benefit money for the last 18 months. I need you. I'm pressing you upon one aspect. tell me what the balance is. If you're not going to tell me what the balance is, then please justify to me why you're not giving a balance. Because number one, Talib has mental capacity, all right, and he's asked me that not Shazad. He directly asked me the question in May, how much money have I got? So
That's fine, sir. I'll try and find out this week. I really need to get off the phone. It's been a long day.
I understand. I appreciate that.
I'll try and get you an answer this week.
I appreciate that. I look forward to hearing back from you. Thank you very much, Mr. Brown.
Okay, thanks, sir.
Goodbye. So we were on the phone now. What? 1 hour and 40 minutes. And what's got resolved? Nothing. He didn't even tell me who the decision maker was who wrote this letter. He's not told me what the balance is, how much money my brother's accumulated. But through this process, at least he's confessed that my brother has capacity. There's no reason to believe that he lacks mental capacity, which therefore therefore brings into disrepute the whole justification of the criminal conviction. That we need to fraudulently conclude that my brother lacks mental capacity, just like they fraudulently concluded that my mother lacks mental capacity, in order for them to justify their legal position. They can't do that now, all right? And so therefore everything's up in the air now, and they're running around like headless chickens. This is a serious matter. They have really screwed up, and so therefore it was important for me to speak to him. And you see how evasive he was being. You cannot serve two masters. He's trying to work as a Talib's care coordinator, and yet acting malevolently against both Talib and myself because they've got an ulterior agenda. He's not answered the question who wrote this letter. All he said, I was asked to translate it into Urdu. They don't have it. They don't even have it on file that I'm his coordinator. They've deleted me from their systems, and all they're doing is pressing the delete button like we are some virtual record. All right, when we are having railing emotions, but they just want to deal with their system, and they can just hit the delete button and just delete everything. All right, that's the way they operate. And we're not an entry record. We're human beings that have lives and are suffering. Now it's quite clearly that 18 months later my brother's not getting access to any money, not even his benefit money, never mind the fact that he's entitled to social care money, which they were giving previously in direct payments, which they've taken all back now and left us in a state of destitution. So it's just quite interesting how these people operate.